and let's jump in. So today we're going to talk about open houses. I'm going to combine the momentum stuff with workman stuff. So let me get my email going to you guys. How many of you are doing open houses right now? And kind of what's been your experience that you're having right now with open houses? Don't all talk at once.
I've had two, and I had nobody show up.
Okay. Where were they at?
Litchfield.
Okay. Tell me about your signage. Did you have a lot of signs out?
Yeah, the first one I didn't, but the second one I did. But I don't think that I strategically put them out. So I think I can kind of manipulate that better.
Okay.
So I kind of feel like that. And I mean, I didn't share it because I got it so late in the week. So, but I signed up for it again. So I've been sharing it, and I have 12 signs. So
Okay.
I think better strategically setting the signs up.
Okay.
So, yeah, I've learned that.
Yeah, signage is important to where we put our signs, how many signs we have out, all of that good stuff. So so a couple of you, I'm having issues with your email, so I'll get the material to you when we get done with class. So yeah, signage is important. I think exposure, right? Having the right exposure, letting people know you're having the open house. I also think that this time of year can be a little funky. July historically is really not a good month for real estate, right? Just because it's hot and people are on vacation. So, and I think that we've been a little bit, I don't know what the word is, but this last 2 years has just been really weird, right? So, and I feel like we all kind of got amnesia a little bit. And we forget like what life was like prior to COVID and what real estate was like prior to that. So, but open houses tend to be a really good way to meet new people and to, sell your homes. There was a great story through Workman a couple weeks ago that a lady listed a property and she double-ended it, right? It was like a 2-point-something million property that she double-ended. So open houses, people come through there, right? And it's an opportunity to sell your properties, but also to get buyers. We have a couple agents in our office that are just killing it with their open houses. One of them is Steve Cushing. And I would encourage all of you, if you're not friends with Steve, I mean, I think his page is public anyways, go check out his little Facebook videos that he does before his open houses. And what I love about them is they're not professionally done, right? It's just Steve being Steve. And if you've ever interacted with Steve, he's a big teddy bear. And he just does his thing on his Facebook, right? And I think so many of us kind of get in our own head, right, about that. And we think, oh, I can lose weight, or I don't like the way, the way I sound, or I don't, whatever, right? Whatever the excuse is, right? We all have them that stops us from doing that. And I think it's not in the materials, but I do think that part of effective open houses is, Friday, right? If you're going to do it on Saturday, go Friday, do a post about it, right? Take a really great picture of that property, do a post about it. Hey guys, I'm going to go live. I'm doing an open house. Then the day of the open house, go live, right? And as you're walking through, you turn your camera around. So it's not about you. And you don't want to give the whole house, but you go through and tour the spots that are kind of what I call the money spots, right? Whether that's the kitchen, the backyard, maybe it's the master bathroom, something that's really appealing about that property. And as you're going through, you could say, hey, what do you guys think of this countertop? What do you think of this, right? So in that way, you can engage them as they're watching your live. If you're not comfortable doing a live, that's okay, right? Lives are supposedly like the best engagement that Facebook will give you. But if you're not comfortable, just record it and then push it out. You can still do like a premiere scheduled video as well that will get attention on your Facebook. So, and then of course, I'm going to be here X time, right? And then drop the address in the comments. I've seen some people, not necessarily you guys, but some of my coaching clients are only doing 2-hour open houses. And I kind of feel like, I've always traditionally done at least 3, maybe 4 hours, because if you're going to go there and set up, you might as well make it kind of an event and make it a day that you're going to have the most opportunity. And I don't particularly have like a time. Some people will ask that, like, what's the best day and time? I think the best day and time is when is good for you, right? When are you going to be at your peak and be able to go out and do a good job, right? I don't know, Cindy, you've been around for a minute. Maybe you got some thoughts on this. I've traditionally done them on either Saturday, Sunday, like 1 to 4. That doesn't mean that's the right answer. I know some people have done Friday afternoons and they've had a lot of good success with that. So I think some of it depends on where the house is, what product is it? Is it hard to get to? Is it easy to get to, etc. So Cindy, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it depends on the location. I mean, I've been doing open houses in Westbrook, and during the week is successful.
Yeah.
So, if there's traffic, then
Yeah, the retirement communities, I think you could do them pretty much any day of the week, right?
yeah. Yeah, but
So
mornings, I think too, are good times. So
mornings, okay.
yeah, especially with the heat.
Yeah, that's a good point with the heat, definitely. I'm going to give you guys a resource too on helping with signage, but I'm going to do a share screen. Let's just check out this video from Workman. You guys have access to all of this inside the training center. So this is inside. So if you go into the training center, you just type in open house. There are several videos and different things that you have access to. And a lot of the stuff will overlap, but I like this particular one that Rick Jihad does. Got some real good meat in here. You'll also see that you have some attachments, right? So we have the documents in here, your invitation, a sign example, which I also sent to you guys, and then all of your action plans. We had Orlando create a nice little surveillance sign for you guys, and those of you who didn't get the materials, you will when we're done. But I put that in the email that you got today, so you can print that out and have that be part of your open house stuff. So let's go ahead and check out this video.
Hi, my name's Rick Jihad and welcome to Slam. We're going to be talking today about open houses on steroids. And I'm really excited about this subject and I'll tell you why. Because open houses over the 37 plus years that I've been in the real estate business have had a good name and a bad name. And I'll tell you this, open houses are here to stay. Let me tell you a little bit about why I say that. In 1990, I hit what was for the first time in my real estate career one of the worst markets I'd ever been in. In 1989, I'd sold 67 houses, and here I was in April and May of 1990, and I'd only sold 3 so far. And I was looking for answers on how to correct my business and how to fix it. A gentleman came up to me one day and started talking to me about this open house on steroids idea, and I instantly grabbed onto it because I was so impressed with the concept and what went behind it. Now think about the past. Think about other people that you've seen holding open houses in the real estate business. Think about yourself and the last time you held an open house. Now, I started managing real estate offices in 1993, and I can tell you on Sundays I'd be in the office and I would see somebody at 12:15 going, oh my gosh, my open house is starting in 45 minutes, and they'd be running through the office asking if anybody had signs that they could borrow. That is not a well-prepared event. And simply put, what you put into an event is going to always be as equal to what you're going to get out of an event. And if you haven't prepared for your open house, then there's no way it's going to be successful for you. Open houses are a big expenditure of time, and if you're going to do that, you owe it to your family, you owe it to yourself to make sure that you are getting a return on that investment. So when I heard about the open house on steroids idea, I was overwhelmed with the concept and the amount of preparation that went into it. But what I was also not surprised about, if that much attention went into the preparation and detail of executing the open house on steroids, I was not surprised when I saw him show me his stack of leads that he was getting from every open house he did. Let's go into it a little bit. One of the great things about being involved with Workman Success Systems as a coach is that as a real estate agent, I'm constantly learning. And what's great is we have prepared documents, and we have a wonderful set of documents around the entire open house on steroids plan, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. So think about the past about open houses. One of the things is we're often planning them on really short amount of times. It's Wednesday, you realize your listing hasn't sold yet, you call the seller and you say, gosh, we're going to do an open house. This is all done much differently. We're going to start planning our open house on steroids a week to 2 weeks out, preferably a week and a half to 2 weeks at the very least. We're going to have it planned out because we have so much we're going to do. First, we have to plan that we're going to do the open house. We have to know that we have a listing coming up that we're going to do it. We don't want the open house to be scheduled so close to the date that we list the home that we're not prepared with all of our marketing. We want to have the right pictures, we want to have the right setup, and certainly we want to be prepared for this crowd that we're going to attract. So I want you to be thinking about that. All of the things I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, are going to be changing your mindset on how you've executed open houses before today. It really is a dramatic paradigm shift when it comes to open houses. So after we've determined the open house, we have lots that we're going to do. We're going to send out open house invitations. We're going to create those. We have a document that shows you exactly how to create them. What's great is the document is editable, which means we can make it customized to your team and your business. What's great about that? There's going to be many ways to do it. Some people are still relying on snail mail, or what we call regular mail, that is having them mailed to the houses in the areas. When we were doing them back in the day, we were having our team knock on 50 doors a day for 5 days before the open houses, in essence, inviting face-to-face at least 250 people to the open house. There's many different ways to do this, but the bottom line is you have to invite more people to the open house. And that can be, like I said, through mail, through door knocking, and through all kinds of other, today, social media and the use of Facebook and other types of social media to get the word out about this open house. Now, remember this, I'm going to keep saying things during my conversation with you about open house on steroids. The more you understand that preparation is key, and the more you take seriously the preparation, the better results you're going to get. Now, once you've got those invitations out, we've got to start really doing some planning. Who's going to be involved? Minimally, we want 3 people there. We want our lender, we want a licensed real estate agent, one of our buyer's agents, or possibly even me from the team, and one other person, what we call an employee, that doesn't necessarily have to be licensed, to help us with setup, putting up signs, etc. Now, one of the things that we like to do is when we're doing open house on steroids, one of the key, notice I said key, one of the key things about the open house on steroids is the number of open house signs used. I remember sharing this with many people in the past, and I've had them say, "What? You use 20 to 25 open house signs for one open house?" As a matter of fact, we do. But they're not all the traditional big open house signs. A lot of times we have ones that we just put in the lawn and it says open house, little whiteboards on them, little mini whiteboards that you can write the address on, and all kinds of creative signs. Now, we're going to have photos of those for you and information on how to order those in the document that we give you. So as you can see, it's a big undertaking, and yet the results are going to be astounding. Stay tuned. So besides the open house signs, asking permission, you can even ask permission of the sellers in the area if you can put one of those open house signs in their lawn. And a lot of times it begins a point of conversation when you're door knocking or when you're making calls about inviting people to this open house. It's an absolutely wonderful idea. Now, one of the great things about this is with advanced preparation, you want to do 4 of these in one weekend. Now, I want to give a lot of credit to one of our master coaches at Workman Success Systems, and his name's Mark Sidon, and he's from Westchester County, New York. He's amazing. And he's the guy who really came up with a really great platform that's with open house on steroids, and actually uses it regularly in his business with a lot of success. Now, what I love is talking to Mark, we find out that he gets it all prepared, and we do 4 of these 2-hour open houses. They are 11:30 to 1:30, and then again 2:30 to 4:30, both on Saturday and Sunday. And like I said, it really, really brings in a great result. Now, we've got the time set, we've got our people figured out. Now, there are some other really key factors that are kind of fun, and that is being super, super prepared for what happens at the open house. Now, you want to start by having a pre-prepared open house kit. The open house kit, of course, is going to have flyers on the property. It's going to have name badges. It's going to have referral sheets. It's going to have buyer information sheets and many other little documents, and we're going to share those with you again in the information that we supply you about this. Now, one of the great things about this open house on steroids is that typically there is a table set up that you have to get past before you can get into the home. There's a reason for this. In fact, one of the key control factors of an open house on steroids is this table. What do I mean by that? Well, myself, let's say me, one of my buyer's agents, or one of the people on my team, and the lender are all sitting at that table. We have a little sign on the left that says, entering this open house is not a privilege, it's a right. Excuse me, it's not a right, it's a privilege. Sorry, I messed that part up. Now, why do I say that? A lot of people want to storm into open houses believing that because you have an open house sign, anybody can go in. But what I love what Mark Sidon's done is he's taken this to the next level. He said, we owe it to our sellers to be responsible for their home and responsible for the belongings in the home. So what does this do? That sets the people coming into your open house, the neighbors, the other people who might be thinking of selling their homes in the future, and buyers with the idea that, oh, wait a minute, I don't get to just go traipsing through this open house. It's going to be in a controlled environment. Now, keep in mind, we have to have the house set up. Now, think about this controlled environment. We want the draperies open. We want the lights on. We want it looking really good. In the winter, we want the fireplace on. We want it feeling warm and cozy. In the summer, we want doors open, a breeze coming through. We want it looking nice, little soft music playing in the background. Nothing that is distracting, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly no television on. And we can talk about nightmares that I've experienced with TVs being on during open houses. So all of these are preparatory for having an open house on steroids that will knock it dead. Like, you'll have so much client business coming out of it, you'll be surprised. So the beautiful thing at this table is that you've got the table set with a tablecloth, and you typically will have some flowers, and you've got the little sign on the left saying, welcome to the home. It's not a right, it's a privilege. Everything is set up so that you absolutely get, and so does the people coming up, that this is going to be very special. We get their information down on our sign-in sheet, and then they are introduced and taken through the home for a tour. If they have been pre-signed up by a real estate agent that my buyers are coming to your open house, then we have either our employee or one of the buyer's agents host them through the house and give them a tour. They don't have to be a licensed real estate agent, because they're just touring them through the home, and they already have representation of another realtor who's warned us that they are coming. Now, if they are a prospect for us, we're certainly going to take extra good care of them and make sure that they're working with a buyer's agent or with me personally. And I'll tell you why. When a lot of the sellers in the neighborhood see this open house on steroids, do you know what they're thinking? They're thinking, oh my gosh, this guy goes to a lot of trouble for his open houses. If I ever sell my house, I want him to help me. This right there is probably one of the key things that you can think about as it relates to doing open houses on steroids. The system is amazing. It takes planning and it takes effort. If you've been watching other SLAM videos, you will know that the main thing, the main focal point about every single video is systemization, operational excellence, making sure everything is executed by a plan, and this open house on steroids is no different. It's time that you take control of your open house business. This can become a key way to attract a lot of new buyers and, believe it or not, sellers. So here's what I want you to think about before I close, is this. We're going to supply you with documents and PDFs and everything you need in editable fashion so that you can create your own open house on steroids plan. And it will be systematized and easy to follow. The bottom line is it starts with you, the leader of the team, the person who is going to create that difference. And I really want you thinking about, how will I step up to make a difference? Ladies and gentlemen, you can blow up your business, use this as another pillar of excellent lead generation, as long as you take this seriously and move it into your business with a plan. I'll look forward to hearing how amazing you did with Open House on Steroids.
All right, a couple things I want to add to that. As he was talking, I was taking notes. So on the signs, so 20 to 25 signs. You also have to watch out for your HOA rules. Some of the, back in the day, we called them the mega open houses, right? Where we put tons of signs out. So you do have to be careful, make sure that you're not, because those HOA people, some of those people will come around and steal your signs. So make sure that you're following those rules as well. One caveat about the TV, in my opinion, if it is sports season, right? Football, baseball, basketball, March Madness, if that is happening, it's okay to have the TV on, no sound, right? But have the TV on, because if, the sports fan is being drugged around to open houses, whether that's the wife or the husband or significant other, they would appreciate having a moment to stop and look at the score, right? And catch up on what's going on with the game. So that's okay to do. Obviously, soft, appropriate music. One of the things in the checklist talks about, candles and things like that. So we'll get more into that. The other thing two things I want to add to that is that you guys have access to VoicePad, and VoicePad, you each get your own unique app that you can put on your phone. Rose is amazing at this. Rose calls it her, how would you like to have a realtor in your pocket, right? And so that's an app that they can download. Now, what Rose does with it is she actually takes their phone, and I know some of you would not be comfortable doing this. She actually takes their phone in the open house, sends it to them, and walks them through how to put the app on their phone. She doesn't just send it to them and let them leave, right? She demonstrates it right there. And that's been a really effective way for her to connect more with people, because the longer you spend with someone, the more likelihood you have to convert that person, right? The cool thing about VoicePad is you can now stalk them. You can see what they're looking at, right? Because it is a tool that connects right to MLS, so they can get real lifetime info on houses that are active, right? I think active or I think they'll do active in like all the under contract with contingencies, but not pending or sold. So they can get that information recorded. Now you can see what they're checking out, right? And they can communicate with you through there. The other tool, if you're not going to use VoicePad, is the Remax app, right? The mobile app that we have. It has really cool augmented reality. If you haven't messed with it, I'd encourage you to. You get inside, and I don't know how this is going to look when Bouge goes away, so we'll see what that looks like. But right now, inside your Bouge platform, you have a custom link that's meant for you. You can send that to someone. I just did it with my sister-in-law because she was using Zillow. I'm like, stop it, use my app, right? So she was able to favorite properties, and I was able to see what she was looking at, right? And you can then stalk them as well. The augmented reality is really cool. You can take your phone and point it at a house that's for sale, and you get all the information right there. It's the only app that is a true app-based app, meaning that it's not using a third-party website, and it updates every 7 minutes. So Monica, if you're a buyer actively looking, having a tool that updates every 7 minutes, so you're getting fresh information every 7 minutes, pretty cool, right? So really, really cool tools that you guys have right there. The other thing I wanted to add, and then I'll jump into the momentum materials, is that statistically speaking, a house goes up for sale within the next 30 days, another home will be listed. Within 60 to 90 days, an additional 2 to 3 properties could be listed. Before I moved to this house that I'm in now, my house in Surprise, I watched that happen. And actually it was 6 properties that turned over because there were 2 rentals. Mine and another property was a rental. So there were 6 properties in a 4-month window from January. Well, not even. Jan, I'm gonna mute you. My dog just went crazy hearing her dog. So there were, like I said, 6 properties from like December to March, the end of March, that turned over. So that statistic does ring true. So here's where I'm going with that is, Cindy, if you door knocked, coming soon, open house, right? Now it's pending, now it's sold. If you door knocked all those times and someone that you door knocked was thinking about selling, do you think that you'd have at least an invitation, right, to be interviewed? I'd like to think so, right? And so, and I know agents in our office that have door knocked and invited someone to an open house and gotten listings from that. So it's, I get it. Door knocking isn't always the most comfortable thing, right? But if you're sitting it with somebody else, there's power in having a buddy with you, right? Danielle shared with us a couple of weeks ago that she had 2 listings in a cul-de-sac that were both for sale at the same time. So her and a couple of agents in our office sat them open, and then they had a lender going between the 2 houses. Well, one of the agents did write, a buyer came through unrepresented. That offer didn't get accepted, but they did write an offer, and the lender was able to pre-qual. I think it was at least 2 people, maybe 3 on the spot that they were able to qualify. So, and they had 20 sets of people that came through those open houses. It was a pretty good day, right? So it was a busy day. I would encourage you to have a lender sit with you, just safety, right? Or another agent. So that way you guys just share the leads, right, that come through. Okay, so any questions or comments? All right, so if you don't have your VoicePad stuff, you can check with, who would you check with? Maybe you just Tiffany at the front desk at North. I would check with her first, and if she's not the person, she'll know who to get you in contact with. So, and that does a lot. That tool does a lot for us. All right, let's jump in. So let's see, let me get you guys going here, slideshow. We probably will not go through every single, I like seeing your guys' faces here, at least a few of you, so it makes me feel like I'm not talking to myself. So we probably won't get through all of the scripts and dialogues, just in lieu of time. But I do want you guys to go through and make sure you read through the scripts and dialogues and that you practice them, right? Scripts and dialogues, I get that it's not necessarily sexy to role play, but role play is what builds our skill, right? And I know some of you heard me say this, but one of my favorite quotes is Bruce Lee, who said, he did not fear a man who knew 10,000 kicks. He feared the man who had practiced one kick 10,000 times. And so we think about scripts and dialogues, that's exactly that, right? Is role playing that. When we hit objections, or we hit, people coming at us with questions, if we have answers, right? Think of scripts and dialogues like having something in your tool belt, right? That you can pull out. It's a very effective way to make you look good, right? And also helps us convert. All right, so our objective today is we're going to talk about open houses. This is creating new contacts, right? Some of us, we've got a couple people on the call today that are new to Phoenix or young, and they feel like they don't have like a good base within their database. And so open houses are a great way to add people to your database, right? And even if they're the nosy neighbor, right, that's okay, right? Because they might refer you or they might make a move. So we're specifically talking about working with buyers today. So the financial consequences. And so when we think about phase 1, we're just going to focus here is so we work in 45 weeks in the year, right? And if we did 2 open houses per week, that would give us a total of 90 for the year. And if we had an average of 5 people come through, which I think that's a pretty fair number, that'd be an opportunity to talk to 450 people. If we were only able to convert 10% of that, to sit down and have a conversation with me, that's still an additional 45 conversations, right? And if only half of those showed up, that'd give us 23. And then if we were only able to convert 45%, which I think a lot of us, once we're face to face and we built that rapport and we're connected with them, I think that number could be higher, statistically speaking. So, because I feel like a lot of us are, at least I do, I feel like I'm much better in person than I am on the phone. So let's just go with the 10%. Would we say our average sales price is hovering around 460 right now? I should be able to remember this math because we just talked about this last week, but let's do, so about, well, that's not the right number. It's about a $12,650,000 commission times 10. That's a pretty good day, right? That's some of you guys' salary for the whole year, your goal, right? So what you want to make, 126,500. So that's a pretty good day. And that's not taking into consideration additional business that might come if it's your listing that might come of that, right? Or again, talking about the additional properties that may sell on that same street. So what's our plan? So we got to have a prospect, right? They talked a lot about getting people into the house. So I think you've got Facebook where you could do boosted ads. You can create an event on Facebook. Certainly you can push it out to all of the platforms like MLS and Zillow and all those places like that. So, and again, even maybe think about putting a rider up a couple of days before the open house that says it's going to be open on Sunday and put the time on there. So that might be a way to kind of let the neighbors know as well. I don't like the word label the looker. So we're going to say that we're going to identify where the looker is in the process. So, and again, we have several dialogues for you guys to study and practice. And then what do we need to have? We got to have a sign-in sheet. Some of you have, want to do digital, and that's totally cool, right? If you had like a little, what do they call those things? Like a small air book or whatever they're called, and you could just type in people's information. You could do that as well. I think that even though COVID's kind of died down, it's still a good excuse, right, to use to be able to gather people's information, is that we need to know. Now, I did send you guys the surveillance camera flyer that Orlando made for us, and I think that's really cool. Stick it on the door, right? Before they even walk in, they see that and they know that they're going to be asked to sign in, okay? The other thing that Nate has done, if you guys want this, let me know, but he had done it more on his luxury stuff, was creating a survey, like a little, review thing. So the person could go through and say, okay, what do you think about the price? What do you think about the interior? What do you think about the exterior? And kind of give you that information. And then their information's on there as well. And so that has been pretty effective too, because now as they're touring the house, you've got a clipboard and say, hey, Jan, would you mind filling this out and giving me some feedback that I can give to the seller? Again, any way that we can spend more time with them and be able to connect with them is a better opportunity to convert that person. So that's a real effective way as well. Signs, we talked a little bit about that, your sign-in sheet, your guest registry. You got to have the home criteria sheet, right? So that especially if it's not your listing, what the heck's going on with the house, right? So all the important questions. What are the taxes? What are the schools? All square footage, bedrooms, all of that. I might even print out a few of those to hand out to someone. I want to run comps, especially if it's not my listing. I want to know what it's priced at, because the last thing you want to have happen is someone come in and beat you up because they think it's either overpriced or underpriced, right? So I want to run the comps and know what's going on. I also want to preview. So if I'm sitting a house open and there's a couple that are for sale in the neighborhood, I want to go preview those because I want to know what's happening in the neighborhood. And I might even print those out so that if someone comes in, Cindy, and says, well, I'm really looking for a 4-bedroom, this one's only a 3. Well, I know that there's one across the street or down the street that's a 4-bedroom, right? I might, if I'm sitting there with a few people, I might say, well, I'm going to go show them this house if I can get them in, right? Because again, if I can go show them another property, it demonstrates a lot of things. I know the market, right? I'm an expert in there. And then, again, spending more time with them allows me more opportunity to convert. Okay. So I think previewing is really critical to know what's going on in the neighborhood. Having your clipboards, having your MLS printout, tax information, and then again, having the comps, and then thank you notes. If you're going to get people's addresses, you certainly send them a thank you note. I know that might be a little bit more challenging, especially if your open house is real busy. But one of the ideas that have come up in coaching is that after the open house, don't just make a phone call, or you make a phone call, that's great. But if you're texting or you only have an email, try to send like a little video message, right? That way if they don't remember your face, if they're out looking at a lot of open houses, they may not remember you, right? And so if you send a video text that says, hey, it was really nice meeting you today, I'd love to follow up with you and see if there's something I can help you with, right? So we always want to, when we're sending out information to people, you always want to have a call to action, right? So if I get this from you, Orlando, what are you asking me to do with it? Right? So, because it's just to call up and say, well, are you ready to buy a house? Who wants that, right? Nobody wants to be sold. And so instead, Orlando, if you called up and said, I was thinking about you and this house just came on the market that fits your criteria based on our conversation at the open house the other day, I have today, this afternoon, available at 1 or 2. Would that work for you? Call me back or text me back. I'd love to set up this appointment. Now, I'm thinking of you, right? So, wow, they're thinking of me. That's awesome. When's the last time someone said that to them? And then if it's a video text, right, they see your face, they know you're not just a bot trying to spam them. And then now the tangible thing is, I want to show you this house. Okay. I think also, you guys, price reductions. Anytime there's a price reduction, make a big deal out of that. Get on your social media, call your leads, call your people, make a big deal out of that, because those are opportunities. Right. And same thing we're going to have the expired class, I believe, next Tuesday. So we're going to talk about expired listings as well, which I feel like there's a whole bunch of opportunities there as well. So that's your no do have. Before we get in. So again, one of my favorite things about momentum is our core values, right? We got to check our beliefs. And so number one is, I think everybody who's new talks about number one is that there's no growth without discomfort. Number two is one of my personal mantras is that I live in a world of abundance, right? And if you sit in open house and it bombs, this is an important one to be able to say to yourself, right? You're there for 3 hours, no one shows up. That's okay, Anne, because I live in a world of abundance, right? Because the next one's going to be the one. And open houses are really a numbers game, right? Just like pretty much anything in real estate. Your only limit is time. I think we can all agree on that, right? When it's your time's up. There's no do-overs on that. Focus is the key to success. I reap what I sow. Systems, right? We talk about the McDonald's University, right? You go to McDonald's, they know they've been trained that they take that cup and they put the precise amount of ice in there and they hit the button to fill the cup up, that will have no overage and no under, right? They've been trained to do that. So anything that you do in your business 3 or more times needs a system. And when we have systems, that reduces our risk, right? When I first got licensed, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to step out onto the curb and get sued, right? Because that's what the instructors drilled in my head. And so having a system like an open house checklist, right? A buyer intake form, having those systems reduces that risk. Plus then, you don't forget things, right? It's unacceptable for my business to earn 0. I would change this to say it's unacceptable for my business to earn less than whatever your financial goal is. Okay. Leverage is the key to abundance. It's a win-win or no deal. And then cost is only an issue in the absence of value. And so when we think about sitting across the table from someone and, now you guys know that the co-broke is now public record. Right? That's on search engines. And so I think some agents may really be challenged with that if they're not providing good service, that buyer now knows that, and they're going to question that. And they're going to start wanting to reach into your pocket and say, hey, Jan, how come you're making so much money? Right. And so, I think we've got to be really good at that. And there's a lot of agents running around, right? What did they say at the office meeting? Like 89,000 licensed agents in Arizona. So everyone knows someone, right? And so we want to make sure that when we're sitting down across the table from them, that we are delivering enough value that whatever the apples are that you're getting compensated, that they feel like that's fair. Okay. So real estate sales beliefs. So, this is a get rich business, right? We all agree that your income is purely determined on, how much work you put into your business. Real estate sales is basic. So I get a lot of pushback from you guys on that because we're like, it's not basic. This is hard. And the concept behind this affirmation is that it's really about the relationships. Right? It's about building trust and having a good rapport with people. If they know you, they like you, they trust you, and you know what you're doing, and that one's optional. If you've got the other 3, people will want to work with you. Okay. It's a task business, right? 75% of what we do is task, right? It's not about money-making activities. It's holding the deal together, right? All the paperwork we have to do. I love number 4 is that I will not convert 100% of the leads I do not generate. We can't wonder when you get out of bed every day who needs your services. And so that's why tracking your leads, and, we get disappointed when we come across someone who maybe isn't ready right now, right? So I need to pay my bills. I got to sell a house today. yes, I agree with that, but you also need to sell a house in 6 months. And so filling your pipeline with C leads is not a bad thing, right? Because you need that business in the future. Okay. Same thing with new builds. There's a ton of opportunities happening with new construction that 90 days ago, you guys, we didn't have. And that's part of what's flooded our MLS. Is all the spec inventory and the new homes that have come in. Because if you go look, a lot of it's that, because the builders weren't putting, I think I heard the other day, like 3,000 or 3,500 homes that came into the MLS that are all builder inventory, and they were all holding that back, right, and hoarding it, and now they're putting it out there. And by the way, that particular builder that wasn't paying commission is now paying commission and offering some crazy incentives. So people will trust and follow what I can logically and tangibly explain. When people get emotional, this affirmation is really important. And then having the vibe that it's unacceptable to leave your clients money on the table will build trust, right? It will build trust with people, because we get, unfortunately, salespeople get a bad rap that it's all about the highest price for us to get the highest paycheck, right? Buyer beliefs. So time reveals all. A great story about Frank. Some of you know Frank, some of you don't, because he's since retired, but he was Nate's business partner that founded Remax Professionals. And when he was a baby agent, he told me this story about how he spent 5 days with this lead. I was so excited because he was a brand new agent, got this lead. And on the 5th day, the wife turned to the husband and said, "Do you think that we should tell Frank that we filed bankruptcy last week?" And so we all know that you can't buy a house, right, if you're in bankruptcy. So had he had a process, right, where he went through the questions and sat down and got to know them a little bit more, he wouldn't have spent 5 days with someone that was not able to buy. Motivated, qualified, loyal people buy homes. Having a process reduces the risk. So for me, I am a stickler for doing a buyer consultation. Any of the transactions that have ever gone sideways for me is that the ones I've skipped that process. So you can't gain commitment from someone and loyalty unless you sit down and you go over the process with them. And my buyer consultation is very simple. I just go through the purchase contract. I get all the addendums signed. I go through all of that, because the consumer thinks that what they watch on HGTV is how it is in the field, but that's really not the truth, right? There's a lot of scary stuff that can happen. So if you spend the time and you go through that, I promise you at the end, they will be begging you I'll sign whatever, right? Just to make sure I don't get in trouble. If they won't meet me, they're not a buyer. So this is just kind of a red flag that if they won't come in and have a consultation with you, maybe they're not being forthcoming or really legitimate. Now, have I played Pop-Tart Realtor? Meaning that a sign call comes in and I run over and show the house? Absolutely. And I've made a lot of money doing that. But you have to hone the skill. You have to ask the right questions, and you got to trust your gut. If the hairs in the back of your neck stand up, don't go, right? Because it could be a bad situation. But I have made a lot of money doing that. And so, but that's not to say that once I make the rapport, right, and I have the connection, now we're going to set a consultation, right? And we're going to go through that. So buyers deserve my immediate time and attention. Yes, but let's say that someone's vacationing here in January because the weather's amazing, and they come out for the golf stuff that happens in January, or the horse events. And so they fall in love with Arizona and they say, hey, this might be a great place to retire, but retirement isn't 3 to 5 years. I'm still going to go, Jan, and meet them and build that rapport. Because why? Because I need the business in 2 to 3 years, right? And sometimes we can actually bump them off the fence and they get excited and they move now and turn that into an investment property that they'll retire into in a few years. So you have to hone those skills to ask the right questions. But we definitely don't want to run around with a C buyer, spend weeks with them, right? But a few houses to commit to, solidify the relationship. Absolutely. Okay, so we want to have the method here. So we want to have pick a house that works with your goals, right? That's going to get a lot of activity. So, and some of you are working luxury, that's fine. I personally kind of like the ones that are in the sweet spot, right? In the average, because those are the houses I'm going to probably get the most traffic through. We want to have it be a high traffic area and it shows good inside and out. Occupied properties, depending, sometimes they don't show well, right? Depending on the people's personal belongings. But the flip side of that, a vacant house can also be challenging too, because it's vacant, and some people have a hard time imagining their stuff inside the house. I personally like vacant homes for open houses because I don't have to mess around with people and pets. And one of my very first open houses I ever did, it was a beautiful spring day, and I decided to open the house up. And little did I know that the owner's dog was going to run away. So that was my first open house. So fortunately, the dog had a reputation. So the neighbors knew the dog and they brought him back, but I was panicking. And so we want to make sure that, whatever we're picking, that it shows well, right? If it's vacant, that you guys are definitely being safe, because vacant properties, you definitely don't want to be sitting those by yourself. Advertising. So we want to start that, as Rick said, we want to start a few days ahead of time. A lot of us wait till Friday. We're like, oh, I'm going to do an open house this weekend. That's not an effective way to do it. So we want to pick a property. I would say on Monday, right? Look at what got listed. And don't be, for those of you who don't have listings, you can sit, if you reach out to any of our listings that we have, I think we're up to about 80, 85 listings in our company, reach out to the listing agents and ask them if you can sit it open. I've seen a few of you send out emails, hey, I'm new, that's great, but be a little bit more aggressive, because your strong listing agents, they don't have time to necessarily reach out to you, but they would love someone to sit their open houses. Okay. So a couple of days before, we want to advertise that. Again, use your social media. Door knocking. This says 50. We teach in work when we say 10, 10, 20, which is 10 houses on either side and 20 across the street. Having your clipboards, right? Having all of your stuff that we talked about, having all that stuff printed out and ready to go. If you guys go download the checklist that were shown in that video, there's actually like a little checklist of like what you should have in your open house to go box, right? So that every time you do an open house, you just grab it and go. So we want to have plenty of signs out. Arrive early. I've arrived at open houses and the beds haven't been made and dishes need to be washed. And so arrive early. Plus, if you're putting your own signs out, you know, some people want to change their clothes because it's hot. So you want to just be able to refresh and feel good before your open house. Have all the lights on. As I said in the video, drapes, blinds, all of that. Make sure it's comfortable temperature wise. Make sure the toilets are flushed and the toilet seats are down. Have a nice smelling candle, something that's appealing. You don't want to pick something that's going to cause people's allergies to go crazy. So nice vanilla is a safe bet. And then again, having the music going, and then having your thank you notes. So here's a little tip for you guys. This guy named Sign Bro, he will put signs out for you for $50. So if you want to take a screenshot of that, I'm assuming he's still in business. I haven't checked this in a minute. So that is one little caveat. But you know, if you've got kids or grandkids, pay them some bucks to have you put your signs out, right? Because it is, you know, that does suck in the summertime to put signs out. And anytime it sucks to put signs out. It was never my favorite part of doing an open house, putting out signs. Everybody got that before I move on? I see a couple of phones going up, so make sure you guys are good. Okay, well, if you didn't get it, send me a message and I'll get it to you. All right, so we're not going to role play, but let me switch screens here. For some reason, I cannot find my notes, so today I feel a little off my game because I'm like, where are my notes? So we're going to go, this is the material. So inside of here, you have, like I said, several different scripts that are chalked throughout the materials. So visiting the neighbors. So here's your dialogue. Let me zoom in on that. Here's your dialogue of how to door knock, right? So just, you know, real simple dialogue. And the key points here are the stuff in bold. So as an extra service, right? So I'm doing this for the Smiths because that is a key phrase right there that triggers people to go, well, my realtor didn't do that, right? What else is Ann going to do for me that's extra service, right? And then of course, just inviting them to the open house. The next script you have here is just a script to talk to the person, right? Break the walls down, right? Get connected with them. It is awkward, right? When a stranger walks in, we feel weird, right? And I think the other day I was in the gas station and this guy came up behind me and we kind of did this like weird, awkward, like social distancing dance, right? And I made a joke about it. I was like, social distancing made everybody all awkward. And so we have that going on now in our world, right? And so practice the script, get really comfortable with that. You know, act like you've known this person your whole life, right? And build that rapport and break the ice as quickly as possible. Let me see what else is on this page here. Okay, so at the bottom here, so we want to answer their questions, right? So give them the flyer, have a flyer, maybe hit the highlights, right? Tell them to take a look. I don't ever tour with people. I know that the video said that he tours with them. I don't personally do that. I just let them go do their thing. And then when they come back through, I've asked, do you have any questions? What'd you think? If I'm giving them the clipboard for the feedback, that's an opportunity for me to gather that back and you know, chat with them a little bit more. We want to identify where they are in the process, right? So where are they at? Are they just out? Are they the nosy neighbor? You know, the kicking tires? Where are they at? Okay. And then we want to close or follow up with a call to action. Relevant information. So again, I'm not going to read all these scripts to you guys, but we always want to, when you're asking a question, you always want to have an open-ended question. And what do I mean by that? Something that's going to continue the conversation. If you guys have ever watched like detective shows or any of those, they always have the hook, right? And, you know, back in the day, I'm dating myself, but back in the day, you have to keep somebody on the line for a certain period of time so they could trace the call, right? Now, of course, technology has changed, but we could ping cell towers and know exactly where everybody is now. But back then, right? But that's the whole point of this, is that the more you can get them talking, the more information you can get. So you always want to end with a question at the end of each statement. When you're giving information, end it with a question. So you have a chart here of how to identify where the person is and how the scripts work. So check out page 11. And then the yes process. So here's one of my favorite scripts, and let me zoom in. One of my favorite scripts in Momentum is, how would you like to use a proactive process that will ensure you get the home you want, and more importantly, want the home you get? And if there's anything you take out of this class, it's that script. And it's not the only class you're going to see it in. So, because it's really powerful, and especially with what has been happening in the last 2+ years, is, people, I mean, I bought this house, I like it, but it's not my dream home. Right. And, and for what I paid for it, I'd really like to think that would be my dream home, right? So we've got people that were in that scenario where they had to sacrifice, right, just to get into a home. Market has shifted, right? So you have a lot of more opportunities now, not quite so crazy, but that's a really great script. And the word proactive just means to produce action, right? And a lot of times, like my sister-in-law, she was on Zillow. That's how she was looking at homes. So I'm like, no, stop it, right? We're not going to use Zillow. We're going to use a different tool. And so we have people that are doing that, or they're just out looking, or they're driving around. They're not using an agent. Okay. So this is one of my favorite scripts. So if there's anything that you take from this class, it's that one, and just practice the hell out of it until it becomes something that just rolls off your tongue. Your justification dialogue. So a lot of times people say, hey, just email me, right? That's the blow off, right, Jan? Just email me, right? And people have been programmed to say that. And so you might have to justify why you want to get together. Okay. And so there's a script for that. And then your more direct approach. These scripts in here on page 14, some of you might feel a little bit timid using these. And I kind of tend to agree. They're pretty aggressive. So you may not fit for all of you. That's okay. Right. The next one here is if they're working with another agent. And so a lot of times, you guys, this comes with a little bit more advanced skill inside of open houses. Because if I'm just looking, what's the best answer to blow you off if I come into an open house? I have a realtor. I'm working with somebody else, right? Is that always true? So, if and it's up to you and your comfort level. You can stop with that, or you could go a little deeper, right? I might say, well, oh, Cindy, who are you working with? And if you trip on your words, now I know you're lying, right? But if you rattle off a name really quickly and say, yeah, I'm working with Jan Stevens, great. Oh my gosh, Jan's amazing, right? We want to affirm that that's a great choice, right? Do you want me to let Jan know that you're here? And so that's the other thing too, is when you do your consultation, you want to make sure that you tell people, don't go to open houses, because we have this little thing called procuring cause, right? And so if they did show up at an open house, which hopefully they're not, right? Because I've had that conversation, because I've gotten all of my disclosures signed during my consultation, and you ask them if they signed anything, they're going to say yes. But
Sarah,
yeah.
Real quick, this is my favorite script, no question about it. I use it all the time. I even use it on calls, because I think a lot of people have gotten programmed recently to call the listing agent instead of, just on a listing and in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I always ask them. And even yesterday I said, who's your agent? They told me, I said, I love him. And I called him right away.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think Jennifer Dunning, was it Jennifer Dunning that did it, or Jennifer Daniels? One of the Jennifers did that for Kyle and Tom recently. A client of theirs came through an open house and she called them right away. And, they were very appreciative of that. Right. So it just depends on your level of comfort, how far you want to go with that. But definitely in your consultations, you want to make sure that you're telling your people not to go to open houses without you. The next script is that they're not looking, right? They're just out kicking tires. So this is an opportunity. Can I put you into my database? They're just looking, they're not ready. So, and this one too is also a really great script, because the looker says, I'm 2 to 12 months out. Well, what's important about that? I've heard many stories from people that, the client is just, or the consumer is misinformed. Kyle speaking of the Claytons, he had a rental lead. This was a couple of years ago, a rental lead, and they came through an open house, and he said, well, why are you renting? Right. And they said, well, we own a house in California and we were told we couldn't qualify. And so they'd been renting when they had bad intel, right? And so we have to listen to what's going on. Why are they 2 to 12 months out? And then now we can formulate, right? We can sit down and consult them and say, okay, how can we help you, navigate that 2 to 12 months? Your follow-up. So here's the follow-up dialogue. And again, I would really challenge all of you to get outside of your comfort zone and use this on a video text, right? Send that out on video. The people that I'm coaching that are doing the video text are having really, really good response with it. Okay. But again, we want to make sure that we have a call to action. And then your open house tools. So here's a sample of the open house registry that you guys have, and then your follow-up. So this is pretty basic, right? I would put this in your CRM as opposed to having paper. Just my personal thoughts, unless you're like really old school and you like the paper. And then your follow-up notes, we give you some examples if you don't know what to say on a follow-up note. And then here's your criteria sheet. So you'll see this also in the buyer conversion class. I would take this and customize it to myself, add my logos and, you know, anything that I might be wanting to add to that would help me understand where they are, what they need. Now, the cool thing that we teach in this momentum class is give that to them. Have it printed out at your open house and give a copy to them. And then if you noticed on the script, let me go back up here, on the follow-up script, it said, did you have an opportunity to complete the criteria sheet? Did that help? Right. And so how many realtors are handing out a criteria sheet in an open house? Probably not any, right? I would even guess that people have taken my momentum class before probably aren't doing it. So it's something different, right? That makes you stand out. And if there are more than one person making the decision of buying that home, criteria sheet, I've seen people like get into arguments about what the house is supposed to have, right? What do they need? And Mitch and I, you know, our old house, we argued about closet space, right? And I said, go ask all of your girlfriends at work about closet space, right? Because he was not believing me that closet space was important. And so adding to this and adding any details that you'd want to have in there for your criteria sheet. So again, just something different that people aren't doing. So questions, comments, what are you guys going to go do? What are your takeaways today?
I have a question.
Yeah.
As far as, have y'all used other methods as far as advertising your open houses ahead of time? Besides MLS, which goes to Zillow or Facebook?
Well, I think, unfortunately, Cindy, I think everyone here, with the exception of Monica, are all new. No, Bob, you're not new, and Roberta's not new, but so I mean, is that like new to doing open houses? What about Craigslist? Craigslist might be a place to put advertising out. I mean, it's still relevant. There's a guy that's, you know, he's claims that he listed 110 houses last year from Craigslist ads. I know there's still some scammy stuff on there, but Craigslist, beyond social media, I mean.
Well, Sarah, I'm not sure if you're the one that told me this or someone else, but have your seller sign up for Nextdoor in their community and they can post it.
Okay, that's a good idea. That was not me, Bob, but that's a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And if there's if there's a Facebook page for the community that will allow you to advertise, that would be a place as well. You can boost it on social media and just, you know, throw $20 at it for the weekend. I mean, I think Cindy, signage is probably like one of the best ways to get traffic through, is just having the right signage and enough of the signage. So any other thoughts? Anybody got any unique ways to advertise?
I hate to say it, but I think most people see it on Zillow.
Zillow.
I said I hate to say it.
I know, but you're right. You're right. It is still very relevant for people, and they like that. I mean, the app is cool, right? It makes it easy for people to search. So there's definitely, I have no argument with the technology there. So anything else, James?
Partner, believe it or not. I think we need to make friends with Zillow because it's not going away as agents. And when I generally talk to a buyer and they bring up Zillow, I tell them, I say, you know, Zillow has a lot of really good information on it. However, because of the way their system works, there are some limitations and they could be off by 10 to 15% either way. And what I'm trying to do is I'm affirming them that they look in a place where they can get good information, but also trying to prepare them for some reality in that maybe if they work with a local expert, we can actually get them down to the numbers and stuff that they're looking for.
Sure. Yeah. And it's always, Zillow never works in your favor, whether it's the listing or the buyer, it never works in your favor. At least that's been my experience. So, and the reality is too, is you can't.
I just asked, when was the last time Zillow came in your house?
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Well, and to remind them that Zillow lost $550 million, you know, because of the algorithm stuff. But anyway, we'll we'll get off the topic of Zillow. So, cause I could rant about that, but anyway, so I would challenge all of you guys, do an open house, right? Get out there and do it, make it an event. Get out, I love the idea of putting a sign out a couple days, a sign rider. That would be another way, Cindy, to advertise the property, to let people know that are driving by that it's going to be open, and just have some fun with it. And
What do you mean by sign rider?
so you can buy a rider at We Serve that you could put underneath the for sale sign that says open house on Sunday.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Or Saturday, whichever. I mean, I don't know if they have them for every day of the week. I definitely know they have them for Sunday. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
So it's just, and you would just zip tie it up to the sign, and then that way do it a couple days before. So
Okay.
okay. All right, you guys. Well, so Thursday, real quick before we wrap up, and I got to go because I got another call, but Thursday we're having a CE class and we have real low attendance. You guys haven't signed up for it. So there is a $10 fee to attend. It's 3-hour disclosure. It's on new construction. And the $10 is going to go towards our fundraising for Month of Miracles. Plus, I mean, we all need CE hours, right? So it's a way to get your disclosure, 3-hour disclosure out of the way and done for the year. So definitely get signed up for that. That's going to be a good class. They're good instructors. Plus, like I said, $10 for 3 hours of CE. So, all right. With that being said, that's a wrap for today.
Wait,
Yeah.
Sarah, I just wanted to, before I let you go, is there any way we can set up a time that we could meet just to touch base?
Sure. Yeah. Will you send me an email?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Very
Okay.
good. You're welcome. All right. Well, you guys have a great day. If you need anything, reach out. Otherwise, I will see you next Tuesday.
Thanks, Sarah.
Bye. Thanks. Have a great day.